Thưa quý vị, sau đây là thời lượng dành cho chuyên mục Cuộc sống thông minh, và trong số phát sóng kỳ này, chuyên gia của chúng tôi sẽ mang đến những lưu ý về sức khỏe phụ nữ. Mời quý vị cùng theo dõi.
Bích Hạnh xin kính chào quý vị. Quý vị đang theo dõi chuyên mục Cuộc sống thông minh trên kênh FBNC với chuỗi chủ đề về tư vấn sức khỏe. Đối với nữ giới, bên cạnh các vấn đề sức khỏe nói chung thì còn có những vấn đề đặc thù liên quan đến giới tính như là sức khỏe sinh sản, tâm sinh lý hay làm đẹp. Trong chuyên mục kỳ này, chúng ta hãy cùng trò chuyện với bác sĩ Jane Lee đến từ khoa nội tổng quát để cùng trao đổi về một số vấn đề liên quan đến sức khỏe nữ giới. Dr. Jane, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, speaking of health, of course we have a lot of concerns. But as a girl or a woman, we tend to have a few or maybe a lot more. But sometimes, like for a lot of women, we don't know. We are not aware of what are important and what are not really important. So what are maybe 2 or 3 basic health concerns that should always be top of mind for all girls and women when it comes to taking care of their health?
I wouldn't say women have more problem than men. I would say that women have different kind of problem than men because our body is different and our responsibilities in life, being a mother, put us in a different health category than men. So for the health concern for women, lots of time depend on the age. So if you're in the teens or early 20s versus you're in the 40s, 50s. So if you look at the most common causes of health concern in a different age group, in the 20 to 30-year-old age range is an accident. It's the most common cause of mortality and morbidity in the younger age group. Whereas for the older ladies, it will be cancer. So as a doctor, we focus on different area when a patient comes to us and asks us for advice. So in the early 20s and 30s, even starting from the teens, one of the biggest issues is about your sexual health. And this is a topic that's not necessarily discussed openly in a lot of societies, but it is very important because it impacts on our reproductive life. It impacts on how you are as a mom, as a wife, as a as a woman in a big way. So it's really important to address those issues. As you are a little bit older, the screening for cancer becomes more important, and the cancers that we're concerned mostly in women are the cervical cancer and breast cancer. And the reason that we are concerned about those 2 cancers, not only because they're so common, but also because they're preventable, especially the cervical cancer. The cervical cancer prevention starts in the teenage years when young girls are recommended to have the HPV vaccine. Cervical cancer and breast cancer awareness starts in the teenage years, actually. From the age 9 to 26, a girl is recommended to have the human papilloma virus vaccine, which is available in Vietnam. And the human papilloma virus vaccine prevents a person from catching it. The human papilloma virus is the most common cause of cervical cancer, which is really common in Vietnam. And it's preventable by having that vaccine. So that actually starts in the teenage years. But you can still get the vaccine up to 26 or even 35 years old in some countries. And once you're in the 30s, 40s, 50s, you can do your regular pap smears to catch cervical cancer early. And if you catch it early, it's 100% curable. If you don't catch it until it's too late, then it can cause death. It's one of the top causes of death in Asia, but around the world, especially in countries that don't have the HPV vaccine and they don't have the pap smear screening.
taking regular health checkups is not a common practice in Vietnam, to be honest. So what would you say? Is it really important to have regular health checkups, and how often do we need to get one?
Actually, it's a very, very important question. I think that the jury is still out on exactly when, but we know that it's important to see a doctor even when you're not sick, to do the preventive checks. For example, for your immunizations, for your cancer screening. And if we find a cancer when it's early, it's 100% curable. But if we let it go on for years and years until it's too late, then it's no longer curable. So for important cancers like mammogram and pap smear, you're supposed to go see the doctor to get a checkup even when you don't feel anything wrong, when you don't feel any pain, because by the time you feel something is wrong or you have pain, it's maybe too late already. And they can do the HPV virus check at the same time as the pap smear. If you have a new sex partner, you should get the HPV and the pap smear more frequently. Some sexually transmitted disease also are very important to check even when you don't feel anything wrong. Because for a woman, if you catch a sexually transmitted disease like gonorrhea or chlamydia, it can impact on your future ability to have children. So, and often for chlamydia, for example, you don't have any symptoms. So you are in a new relationship and you don't know anything is wrong until maybe 10 years later when you try to have children and you realize you can't. And then you start to look back, it's like, oh, it's because you catch something in the 20s and you didn't treat it. And these infections, when you catch them, are completely treatable and then can prevent you from suffering from infertility later in life. So it's really important. For example, in other country, like in the US, they screen for every woman who's sexually active up to 25 years old for gonorrhea and chlamydia, because it's so important to find it and treat it. So for a woman, if you want to look after yourself, once you're sexually active, you should go see the doctors. Like, what should I do? What should I be doing to make sure that I'm healthy, and not wait until something feels wrong or you have pain before you go see the doctor.
I read an article on Family Medical Practice website recently that say there are 5 medical tests that all women should have. So can you share with the viewers what they are?
Okay, so there are some important tests. There are many kind of tests available, but so for different age group, what is recommended to be the most important test is different. So I would say in the a pap smear once you're sexually active should be a routine part of your vocabulary. It's like, how often should I check that? So the pap smear is really important because it looks for cervical cancer, and it can save your life, right? So and how often, again, it's different. You start at age 21, and then once you're in the 70s, you don't have to do it anymore. But from the teenage years to the 70s, you should do it regularly. And how regular depends on your history and depend on your specific need. If you have abnormal bleeding, then you should go earlier. You have bleeding between the period, for example, you should go earlier. Or if you have pain when you have sex, you should go earlier to speak to your doctor. So that's one test. And mammogram for ladies over 45 is a test that you must have because it detects breast cancer earlier when it's still curable. And breast cancer is the top 10, one of the top 10 causes of death of cancer worldwide. So other tests like diabetes, it's really important to check, but it's especially important to check if you have any symptoms or family history, to check once in a while to make sure that you don't have diabetes, because if you do have diabetes, it affects so many parts of our body and it affects so many different aspects of our life. It's really important to know. And then, there are a number of other tests, but cholesterol is also important, especially in somebody who has family history of heart disease, heart attack or stroke. It's really important for those ladies to check that. But most screening panels, most screening programs include a number of those things, and they include a little bit from each category. So it's good to have a screening program that doesn't only focus on one part of the body, but look at the person overall, like from every aspect of the heart, the lungs, the reproductive system, and including the psychological assessment, because depression, anxiety, suicide is also a big problem in our society. Suicide is one of the top 10 causes of death in the group of from the teenage to early 20s. So it's something that might be, if the person who is suffering from depression, anxiety, knew that they have someone to talk to, that's safe to talk to, maybe you can save their life. So it's something that as a doctor we ask people about, how are you feeling? Are you doing okay? Question like that. And to also to send a message to the society that this problem is really common and it's okay to talk about it and to reach out for help.
Thank you for just sharing today.
Thank you for inviting me, and I think it's really important that we share the information with all the girls and ladies out there.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Kính thưa quý vị, chúng ta vừa gặp gỡ với bác sĩ ShtsNG đến từ khoa nội tổng quát của Family Medical Practice để cùng trao đổi về một số vấn đề liên quan đến sức khỏe nữ giới. Hy vọng quý vị đã có thêm thật nhiều thông tin hữu ích liên quan đến chủ đề này. Cảm ơn quý vị đã quan tâm theo dõi. Hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong chuyên mục kỳ sau.